introduce the man that I know. Kurt Wilson is a God-fearing man, first of all. He's a great, great husband, phenomenal father, great community activist, and good friend. And I think would be a great friend to all of you as well. So I'm going to be quick as well. And we're going to turn this microphone over to Kurt Wilson, candidate for mayor of Roswell 2021. Can we get one for him? All right.
Thank you, sir. Well, I would not be, I guess, a proper person running for office if I didn't take a moment to acknowledge some dignitaries. And so I'd like to acknowledge, first of all, we have the great pleasure, I think, of having 3 city councilmen with us tonight. City Councilman Mike Palermo, City Councilman Marcelo Zapata, okay, sorry, 2, my bad. I'd also like to introduce Lee Jenkins, former candidate for mayor in 2017. He's here with us tonight. Thank you, Lee. I'd also like to introduce candidate Peter Vanstrom, who's running for city council here in 2021. I know I saw my friend Michael Thompson. Michael Thompson with the Downtown Development Authority is here. Michael, are you here? Okay, I saw him earlier. I knew he was here. So that's it with the formal introductions.
Hey, Kurt. Wait.
Oh my gosh. Hi, Lee. You look absolutely stunning in your dress. I'd like to introduce Lee Hills, also a candidate for City Council in 2021. So, I get asked this question, probably like any of you who would run for office, why in the world would you be dumb enough to run for mayor of Roswell? And that really is a very valid question, particularly when you're 60 years of age and life has been really good to you. And the best part of my life has been spent here in Roswell, Georgia, raising my 4 daughters and my wife. And, I mean, well, let's say this, she raised me.
Yeah, good.
That's a glad she's not here, so I can get away with the kind of those missteps. But for like most of you, Roswell has been an incredibly special place to me. I've never lived any place longer in my 60 years than I've lived in Roswell, Georgia, 23 years. And we moved here in 1998 because I didn't know it was this special, but it became more and more special to us. And it's where I will die. It's where I'll be buried. And one of the things that moved me gravitationally to make a decision to do this, to actually jump into the fray of where we are today and where we're going to go tomorrow, was that I owe a debt. I owe a debt to this city. And so I can share with you that personally, there's nothing least I would rather do than be the mayor of the city of Roswell. But what I will tell you is, if we get elected, you're going to have a mayor who's committed to changing the dynamics, the vision, and the long-term apparatus of the city in a whole different way. And I will tell you, what I see is, I see 2 paths for the city currently. I see a path currently where this city is fighting like it's in Vietnam, where there's constant battle, there's constant derision, there's very little engagement, and there's no progress. And what happens as a consequence of it is that the quality of our lives as citizens slowly erodes. And when you come over here on the east side of Georgia 400 in Roswell, those of you who live over here experience it even in more stark reality, because you've seen the real economic attack and devastation to your businesses. And you've seen the lifeblood leave your businesses. And we've seen it begin to creep over into into the corridor on the west side of Georgia 400. And so the current path, if we don't do anything, will continue to allow the slow dripping of that faucet chipping away at our quality of life. That's our current path. And I say to you that if that's the current path that makes sense to you, then keep voting for the way we've been voting. The second path is a legitimate path, is that there are those in our community who'll say that since we're part of the ARC, the North Atlanta region, that 4 to 5% growth is inevitable in the population. We're a town of 100,000 people. And that to accommodate that 4 to 5% growth in our real estate, which we have dead real estate that needs to be quote-unquote redeveloped, that the logical thing for us to do is to put in high-density, one-off, multifamily development. Now, I don't think that's very wise, because the end product of that is a dramatic reduction in the quality of life, a dramatic loss of the character and the charm of the city that we love. But it's a legitimate path, and we need to be clear that there are people who believe that that's a path that makes sense because it's quote-unquote inevitable. And if you look at other parts of Atlanta, that kind of growth has taken place. It has been inevitable. But I believe that there is a third path. I believe that there's a third choice. I believe that that path is depending upon you and me to do something different. I believe that that path is so much bolder than anything we've ever attempted, that this election is the most critical election in the history of Roswell. That if we're going to change the path and the direction of Roswell, Georgia, that if we want it to be a great family community 20 years from now, 50 years from now, we have to act now. And we have to act in a dramatically bold way. We have to do things that we haven't thought about doing. We have to do, for example, on the east side of Georgia 400 here in Roswell, I can share with you as a business person, for example, I'll give you an interesting number. Target, Super Target failed. Super Target came in here with projections of doing $1.6 million of sales per week. They ended up doing about $376,000 a week. The simple reason was there wasn't enough business to support the business. And so that's why we have businesses failing. And so if we allow the same organic activity and expect a different result, we're hoping that the tooth fairy is going to show up. The tooth fairy is not going to show up. Who's got to show up is us, which means we have to do a major project here on the east side of Roswell that may be a P3, public-private partnership project. And the scope and density and size of that project is so dramatic, it will knock everybody's socks off the north side of Atlanta. And I believe the first project we do is what I would like to call Central Park here on the east side of 400. And in Central Park, we're going to build a botanical gardens that will not just service the North Atlanta region, that won't just service Atlanta, that just won't service the state of Georgia. It will service the entire southeast United States, an incredible destination point for people to come to this part of Roswell. Encompassed with that, in addition to that, we're going to build an art museum that will outrival the museum downtown Atlanta, that will be a destination spot, not for Atlanta, not for Georgia, but for the entire Southeast, a true destination spot. In addition to that, we will build a massive green lawn space, a park, a true central park to encompass these major projects. And around those, we will facilitate high-end retail and residential. We'll put a small amphitheater in it, we'll put an event space, but we're going to change the landscape to change the prospects of what's going to come to this side of our city. Because if we don't, we're hoping that something's going to change. We're hoping that the developers are going to, and by the way, the only kind of development that wants to come to our side of Roswell down the corridor right now, the only economic development that really makes sense for a lot of business people is to put in high-density multifamily projects. That's why we keep getting them. If you look at 6 of the last 9 projects, that's what gets penciled in. Some of them come under the facade of mixed use, but they're not really mixed use. We all know that. And the reality is that the vast majority of us as citizens of Roswell are saying, hey guys, put a break. We don't want high-density, one-off, multifamily projects. Stop it. Citizens don't want that. So listen to us, people that we elect. Listen to us, City Council. Listen to us, Mayor. But that's not the only piece. If we just say no, that doesn't solve our problem. It doesn't change the dynamics of who we want to be as a city. It doesn't make Roswell the great #1 family community that it can be and will be in the next 20 years, in the next 50 years. We need to pass on to our children and grandchildren a legacy of this city that we have enjoyed. But it's going to take you, with clarity, to say that as voters. It's going to take you as voters to say, by the way, you know what? We've got a great project called the Riverwalk Project, already been written up. It's time to adopt that. But the reason the people in office don't ask you to do that is it's scary. Because you're going to say, well, it's going to cost money. It is. And here's what I'm going to say to you, as someone who is a small business person that pays outrageous taxes. You're already paying for us not reinvesting in our city. And if we don't make a decision to reinvest in our city in a dramatic way, we're going to continue to pay for it. We're going to continue to pay for it that we won't get the property value escalations that you want as homeowners. We're going to pay for it is that we'll have more and more failing retail businesses. You and I have to do something different. This is not an I. This is a we. This takes dramatic action from us. And it takes dramatic action at the polls because the people need to speak clearly in November. They need to change the landscape of the city and say, yes, yes, we want solutions. Yes, you know what? It's time that we build out a plan to build out our city center. Everybody loves the city center. Let's build out a plan to city center, all the way from the river to Highway 9 to Holcomb Bridge. Let's hire a city planner that reports to the city council and to the mayor. And by the way, there should be one synergized strategy and government for the city of Roswell, and that comes from the city council and the mayor because they're the elected representatives of the people, period, end of story. Because the only way that the people's voice is through the city council and mayor. But the city council and mayor, forgive me, the city council and mayor have to be bold enough. They have to be leading. And so I'm asking you to be daring enough to go along this ride to change our city so that we have the city that we want 20 years from now for our children and 50 years from now for our grandchildren. The second part of the equation is that public safety for each one of us is a priority. It is for me, I know it is for you. And one of the narratives that's been common in the last couple of years is defunding the police. I believe in Roswell that we don't defund the police, that we're going to fund the police. Currently, 25% of our budget, our operating budget, is basically towards the Roswell police. Guess what? That percentage of the budget is going to go up. We're going to spend more money on the police. We're going to pay our police officers to be best in class among any of our sister cities. We're going to incentivize the Roswell police force to be citizens with us, not hired hands. Our Roswell police need to be in our community living with us. That's important to the community. So we're going to incentivize them. We're going to give them significant vouchers to offset so they can come live with us as citizens. We're going to reopen the city jail. We closed the city jail 6 years ago to save $2 million a year. I won't get into the minutiae economics of that, but it's not a great economic decision. But more importantly, it's not a great quality of life decision. If, for example, your daughter, by some chance, should get a DUI, and this is how I look at it, probably how you might look at it. I want my daughter going to the Roswell jail. I don't want her going to the Fulton County jail. I also don't want her being pulled away. I don't want my police officer losing 4 hours of time in transportation because it's ineffective. I also believe that as a city, as a community, we need to make sure that our police force has best-in-class training and best-in-class ongoing SOPs in terms of the reinforcement, whether it's shields, guns, tasers, cars, that we make sure that our commitment to them is clean. One of the things that I absolutely believe is paramount. I'm sorry, blocking the thing. Sorry about that. Oh, let me introduce Jason Yao, candidate for mayor. Hey, Jason. Everybody say hi to Jason. Thank you for being with us tonight. Which takes me to a good point. I think I'm not here to malign anybody who's running for city office. I'm not here to malign the current mayor. I'm not here to malign any city council candidate, because I don't believe politics change until the people who run for office change. You're gonna hear me say that a lot, because what I want to be absolutely crystal clear is that whenever you hear something coming out of my mouth, you realize, well, he's not a very good politician, number one, and number two, he says the same thing to whoever he's with. He's not trying to curry favor with me. He's not trying to earn my vote so that I'll like him. And part of that is because I believe that credibility and trust is done by being consistent with people. And that takes, obviously you have to earn that. But part of that is you have to be truthful with people, even if they don't always love what you hear. And so one of the things that, look, I'm going to ask for you to vote for me. Please don't vote against somebody. Please vote for somebody. And if you say, Kurt, I don't agree with you, I don't like your message, you're not the right guy, then vote for somebody. But don't vote against somebody. It's time that we started being for things. It's time as we as a people are for one another. And one of the things that we're going to do in this city is that we're going to bring together our citizens and our candidates, and we're going to stop beating each other up. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about the past, because I'm not interested in reliving the past, because I got 10 years, 20 years maybe left, I don't know. But I'm going forward. I'm asking Roswell to go forward. That's what's important. Where do we go from here? Where do we as a city go from here? So you're not going to hear me jump on, you're not going to hear me say something negative about another candidate or somebody in the past. You may hear me say be critical of a strategy or critical of a particular policy, but I'm not going to malign somebody. And I want us to stop doing that as a people. I think that's important, and it starts at the top. And to that point, I believe that the mayor is responsible for being the city's goodwill ambassador. I also believe that the mayor is responsible for leading the charge on economic development and having the ability and clarity and skill set and acumen to do that. I also believe that the mayor should be the foremost political liaison for the city. What do I mean by that? I mean that the mayor needs to be active not only with the other mayors and city councils in creating better harmony and working relationships with the other cities. I believe the mayor needs to be working with the state legislators, state senators, in an aggressive way to make sure that what Roswell is looking to get done, because we got some big stuff we need to do, and I hadn't even talked about traffic. We got some things we have to get done to affect our quality of life in a different way. That means we need help. We need cooperation. We have a lot of work to do. That means we better be working with our congresspeople and our senators. And it takes someone with the skill set and acumen and adeptness to do that from a professional perspective. I'm leaving one thing out that I'm forgetting about that's really important to City Council. That's the problem when you don't prepare for speeches and you don't have notes. But what I want to say to you last, is I know that you love the city, or you wouldn't be here. And the vast majority of your citizens, your neighbors, feel less like you do. But they need you to be active. They need you to bend their ear. They need you to tell them that we can make a difference in this city. This is where government's supposed to happen. It's supposed to happen at the lowest level. It's the way the founders intended it. My name's Kurt Wilson. And I hope that you will come out and support us and vote for us and work for us and be part of the vision that we have for this city. I thank you for your time, and may God bless you, and may God bless Roswell.
Kurt Wilson, everybody. Our next Roswell mayor.